Hello and welcome to the Roy Rogers News Channel. Thank you so much for watching. And for today's fun-filled ability video, well, we're going to dive into a certain ability that can help your normal and fighting type moves make contact with ghost type targets. And with me to discuss this ability is a certain pizza delivery guy, PizzaProof. Would you like to say hello to everybody?
Hello, everyone.
Excellent. All right. Now I'd like to take an order of cheese pizza. Can you make that real quick?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. All right. I'm going to give you a pretty good tip. So there we go. And without further ado, are you ready to dive into a certain ability that can help us contact ghost-type Pokemon?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. All right. And you might be asking us, hey, Roy and Pizza, so what is this wonderful ability? And that's a good question. It is called Scrappy. Now, what does Scrappy do? Well, as I mentioned in the introduction, Scrappy allows for normal or fighting-type moves to hit ghost-type Pokemon. Users of this ability cannot be intimidated. So that's really cool because you could be able to use things like Stoutland and that sort of thing. You'd be able to have that attack stat be retained. So that is wonderful. And also I would like to note that for anybody saying, hey Roy, Sableye and Spiritomb don't even have any weaknesses. Well, let me go ahead and just say this. You are correct, but when dealing with the Pokemon with the Scrappy ability, guess what? They do have a fighting type weakness. So you'll be able to take advantage of Spiritomb and Sableye's fighting type weakness because of the Scrappy ability, because Scrappy essentially bypasses the ghost type of the Pokemon. So Pizza, do you have any commentary to say about this lovely ability?
It definitely helps when they're blowing you out with ghost types.
And before we dive into the Pokemon here, I would like to give a brief prerequisite here, and I would like to say that we're not going to be discussing the pre-evolutions, although there's only 2 pre-evolutions here in this video. But still, I don't want to waste your time. I'm going to discuss the maximum evolution of the Scrappy Pokemon. Although there are 2 Pokemon in this listing that don't even have any evolution chains. So you can be able to enjoy playing with those 2 Pokemon without having to evolve them first. So, Pizza, are you ready to dive into the Pokemon?
Yes.
Excellent. Alright, so our very first Pokemon is going to be a certain motherly Pokemon, also known as Kangaskhan. Alright, there we go. And this Kangaskhan is not built for Scrappy, I just got it from the Swarm last night. So, you might be asking, hey Roy and Pizza, so what are the main benefits to Kangaskhan? And that's a good question. Well, Kangaskhan has a really nice HP stat of 105, its defense and special defense is 80, so it can be able to take some hits pretty well, and its attack stat is 95. So that's pretty awesome. Its speed stat is not bad either at base 90. You can outspeed general threats. And also at the same time, you could be able to learn things like all the elemental punches. So your Thunder Punch, your Fire Punch, and your Ice Punch. You could be able to learn Drain Punch, which is really good, especially if you want to sap some HP away from a Pokemon, and you could be able to restore your own HP. So that's pretty awesome. You could be able to learn Body Slam, so you could be able to have a chance to paralyze Pokemon. And also you could be able to learn Earthquake for things like Gengar, because Gengar is not levitating in this game. Gengar has Cursed Body, so you'll be able to take advantage of the fact that you can Earthquake Gengar. And also, you can learn Sucker Punch via tutor moves, just in case you're like, hey, you know, this Ghost type is outspeeding me. No problem, you can use Sucker Punch and you can be able to knock out the Ghost type Pokemon. Or, you can learn Work Up via TM and you can be able to increase your attack by +1. Special attack doesn't really matter, but the attack stat +1 really does matter in some fights. And also, via Battle Points, you could be able to have Kangaskhan learn Yawn, so in case you want to catch some Pokemon, you can use Kangaskhan to do that.
And also pair that with the fact that you can learn Seismic Toss via TM, so you can use Kangaskhan to catch not only wild Ghost-type Pokemon, but you can also use Kangaskhan to be able to catch the wild Alpha Ghost-type Pokemon. Feel free to enjoy using Kangaskhan as your catching Pokemon.
Or you could be able to teach Kangaskhan Wish. And you could be able to use Kangaskhan to heal up your teammates, so feel free to do that if you would like. Another main benefit is this, Kangaskhan also has the Monster Egg group, so that makes accumulating breeders for it a bit cheap, considering the fact that the very first Pokemon that I featured in my Egg group video is the Whismur line. You can be able to gather up some Whismurs, breed up your Kangaskhan, and it is awesome. Now you might be saying to me, hey Roy, so Kangaskhan sounds really great. What are the main drawbacks? And that's a good question. Kangaskhan lacks stat boosting moves like Sword Stance, and I wish that Kangaskhan can learn Sword Stance because it really needs a +2 attack boost in certain situations. Another main drawback is this. Kangaskhan is vulnerable to things like burn and the like because Kangaskhan doesn't have any sort of healing move like Heal Bell or anything like that. Yes, you have Breast, but you don't really want to be asleep for 2 turns. And also, I would like to mention one more benefit. I forgot to mention this benefit. It is 100% female, so you get to save on the gender cost. So that's pretty awesome. Pizza, do you have any commentary to say about our lovely motherly kangaroo friend?
In addition to the breeding cost being low, you can also make sure to use my go-to move, which is Drain Punch, for all your Scrappy and Ghost type needs.
Excellent. Alright, now, before we go on, I know that some viewers are probably going to ask, so how did you get your Kangaskhan, and would you like to link it to our audience?
Yes. My Kangaskhan here, I hatched out of an egg using Whismers as my go-to breeder, of course. There you go. After losing my first shiny Kangaskhan in the Safari Zone, I just started to egg it up, and luckily enough, I got to hatch one in the same spot where I lost it.
Wow. And I see that you use Rock Climb on it, so that's really clever, the fact that you use it as an HM slave. And, man, like, how much time did it take you to get that?
I was really lucky. It only took me 10 days. I did about 2 boxes a day, I think.
Wow. And Kangaskhan's a pretty rare shiny, so I commend you for getting it.
Thank you very much.
Certainly. And without further ado, let's go and dive into our very next Pokemon, shall we? And what is it? It is a cow! And you know what it is? It is Miltank. And we gotta make that cheese pizza somehow, and Miltank can help us out. So you might be asking us, hey Roy and Pizza, so what are the main benefits to Miltank? And that's a good question. Miltank has a really nice HP stat at base 95. Its attack stat is base 80, so that's pretty cool. Its defense stat is actually higher than Kangaskhan at base 105. However, its special defense is lower than Kangaskhan at base 70. However, the speed stat, which is quite a surprise, especially for a pretty chunky cow, its speed stat is base 100. I actually learned that from Young Cabbage's podcast. He had a really nice guest on, so feel free to check it out. Young Cabbage, you're doing wonderful work. Also, I would like to mention another benefit for Miltank, and it's the fact that Miltank is a field egg group, so that means obtaining breeders for Miltank is very easy. And you can go ahead and gather those Whismers, and you can be able to breed up with Miltank. So feel free to use that information however you would like. Also, one more benefit is this. The gender fee is non-existent because it's going to be 100% female, so that's something you don't need to worry about, and it is really awesome to breed up a Miltank. So feel free to use that information however you would like to. I'd like to mention the fact that Miltank does have access to Body Slam, just like Kangaskhan. It has access to Elemental Punches, and it does have access to Brick Break, and unlike Kangaskhan, it does have access to Heal Bell. So just in case Miltank does get burned, you can go ahead and use it to not only recover your own burn, but also you can use it to recover your entire team's status. So you can save yourself some money on the medicine in your story mode. So feel free to use that Heal Bell however you'd like to. And Milk Drink, which is really awesome, so Miltank can be able to recover, which is really awesome. It's access to Earthquake, again for things like Gengar, and also you have access to Heart Stamp via an egg move, and you can be able to use Heart Stamp for things like Gengar and Muck and that sort of thing. Although I would say use Earthquake over Heart Stamp, but Heart Stamp is an option because I know some people like the idea that Heart Stamp does have a chance to flinch your target. So Heart Stamp is there just in case you want it. I would like to note this, that if you want to breed Heart Stamp on, then feel free to level up a male Swoobat. You can have Swoobat learn Heart Stamp at level 15. Or you can have Woobat learn Heart Stamp at level 15. So Woobat or Swoobat can work for learning Heart Stamp. Feel free to use that information however you would like to. And also would like to mention the fact that Miltank does have access to Workup, so that's pretty awesome. You get to boost your attack stat by +1, You might be saying to me, hey Roy, so what are the main drawbacks to Miltank? And that's a good question. Just like Kangaskhan, I wish Miltank can have access to Sword Stance, because Sword Stance can help boost attack stat by +2, and that base 80 attack stat, I mean, it's not bad, but in a fast-going story mode, Miltank really needs all the help that it can get. And so Miltank not having access to a +2 attack move is something that I am really discouraged about. Also, another main drawback is this: it doesn't have access to Yawn, so that means if you're trying to catch Pokemon with Miltank, you can't. And also, Miltank doesn't have access to Drain Punch. So in case you want to recover HP that way, rather than using Mildrink, you cannot do that. So that's really discouraging. And also, I would like to mention this other drawback. Yes, it has access to Curse, but you don't really want to lower down that speed stat, especially in a fast-paced story mode, and you don't want to touch that base 100 speed stat. You really want to utilize that 100 speed stat. So make sure you can be able to use those moves however you would like to, but it does have access to Brick Break at least, so that's certainly nice. And PizzaProof, do you have any commentary to say about our certain dairy friend?
Yeah, one of my favorite moves to put on Miltank, not for storyline purposes, is Sweet Scent, just to have another chance to level up my Pokemon.
Certainly.
Instead of bringing a grass type.
Yeah, and also Miltank does have access to Earthquake too, so you can go ahead and use that there. Feel free to use Miltank however you would like to. And Pizza, do you have any commentary to say about our beef friend before we go on?
Please keep the milk coming. I need to make a lot of cheese.
Certainly. Alright, there we go. We'll make sure to send you over at that route north of Alive City, and I'm sure that there's going to be plenty of dairy there. There we go. And without further ado, Pizza, are you ready to dive into our very next Pokemon?
Yes, I am.
Our very next Pokemon is going to be a very fast cuckoo bird. You know what it is?
Swellow.
Perfect. Alright, so Swellow's main benefit is this. Its speed stat is the highest speed stat of any Scrappy Pokemon. And the speed stat is base stat 125. That's going to outspeed a lot of stuff, by golly. And also, its attack stat is not bad either at base 85, which is just 5 points higher than Miltank. And also the fact that Swellow has a flying egg group, that means that the breeders are not going to be too expensive to gather together for Swellow. But I gotta talk about its drawbacks, because there's so much stuff holding back Swellow. Let's go and start off with the fact that the Scrappy ability is hidden. So that means that breeding up a Swellow might be very expensive to do, especially if you're trying to breed up a really nice Swellow for story mode. I mean, the fact that Swellow has paper defenses at base 60 and then base 50, I mean, 60 defense, 50 special defense, 60 HP, you're not going to take too many hits. Even if you make it perfect, 5x31 perfect, I don't recommend using a Swellow even at 5x31. And the fact that it's hidden ability, that means that it's going to be costly to breed up this bird in the first place. And also of note, its move pool is very shallow. I mean, when you have the only attacking move, no body slam, you only have secret power. I mean, I guess you can make secret bases wherever you want in Hoenn, but I mean, that's really stretching it. And you say to me, hey Roy, I want a hard-hitting offensive move. Okay, you might as well have Swellow learn return then. You might as well maximize its happiness, and that's going to be a lot of work, because you're going to have to spend a lot of money on berries for Swellow, and that's going to be quite costly on your wallet. And also, if you say, hey Roy, I don't want to bother with using the move return, no problem, you have access Double Edge, but Double Edge has a recoil damage, so that's something you might not want to deal with in the story. You also have access to Revenge. When Revenge is your only fighting type move, that's really bad. And also, I would like to note that when you have another fighting move of Counter, I mean, I didn't want to count this as a fighting type move, because it's more of like a, hey, you have to have a Pokemon hit you, and then you retaliate. I mean, that's not a fighting move. That's a wait until something hits your Pokemon, and then your Pokemon retaliates move. So, having Counter is not really great. Yeah, you have access to Tailwind, and that can be good team support, but, you know, there are things that can do Tailwind a lot better, and Swellow is certainly not on my list to do Tailwind. And Endeavor, okay, fine, but then again, Swellow has paper defenses, so I don't really want to rely on Swellow to help me out here. Yes, it has access to Workup, and that can boost its attack stat by +1, but man, I wish Swellow can have access to Sword Stance. I know that a bird having access to Sword Stance is something that is a bit hard to imagine, but then again, you have Dodrio. Dodrio is a lot better than Swellow, but Dodrio doesn't have access to Scrappy, so we're not going to talk about Dodrio. Swellow is the center of attention. Swellow really needs a lot of support, and Swellow's not getting that support. Yes, it has access to U-turn, and you can go ahead and pivot and switch out, but I really wish Swellow can do a lot more than just U-turning in and out. So, Pizza, do you have any commentary to say about our fast flying bird?
I wish it was better.
Like, it does have access to Steel Wing, but, I mean, I hesitated to include that, but for anybody who wants to say, hey, Roy, it does have Steel Wing, there you go. It has Steel Wing. Steel Wing has a chance to miss. Pizza, are you ready to dive into our next Pokemon?
Yep.
And our very next Pokemon is going to be, speaking about the Whismur line, let's go ahead and talk about Exploud. There we go. And I made sure to say it a little loud so that way we can go ahead and emphasize the Pokemon's name here. Exploud. Okay, there we go. So what are the main perks for Exploud? That's a good question. Exploud is base attack 91 and base special attack 91. That means you can hit on both sides of the spectrum. So its move pool is actually a lot more diverse than the typical Pokemon. Let me go ahead and give you some of the moves that I wrote down. So you have access to Body Slam, Brick Break, Earthquake, Fire Punch, Flamethrower, Hyper Voice, Ice Beam, Ice Punch, Rock Slide, Thunder Punch, Surf, Workup, which can boost attack and special attack, which would actually benefit Exploud really nicely. And then for an egg move, you can learn Extra Sensory, so you can go ahead and have that coverage. And you can also learn Howl at level 11, just in case you don't really care about hitting on both sides of the spectrum. But that's something that you can benefit with. And also another main benefit is this. It is Monster in Field. And considering the fact that Whismur is a 100% encounter at Rust Turf Tunnel, it is really cheap to breed for. It's really cheap to be able to catch and such. But let me go ahead and talk about its other perks before I get into its drawback, because I really want to talk about its drawback here. Its HP is 104, so it can be able to take several hits. Its defense is 63, which is really cool. A little higher than Swellow, but still can take a little hits. Its special defense is 73, so you can be able to take some hits there too. Its speed stat is a bit slow at 68, but you can make it work. Now let's go and talk about some of its disadvantages. And man, the fact that Exploud having Scrappy as a hidden ability, that's going to be a bit of a deterrent in terms of being able to breed up Exploud and the like, because you're going to have to spend money on trying to get a hidden ability, Whismur, Loudred, or Exploud in your pool. And when I say in your pool, I mean in your breeding pool. I mean, on top of catching Whismurs over at Rust Turf Tunnel, you're also going to have to budget for the fact that Exploud needs to get its hidden ability accessible. So that's something that you need to take into consideration. And also, 91 is great for attack and great for special attack, but in today's PokeMMO, there are Pokemon with a lot higher attack and a lot higher special attack. So I feel like that Exploud is underwhelming, but at the same time, I think that under the right circumstances, I think Exploud can do really well. So Pizza, do you have any commentary to say about our certain rock band Pokemon?
Well, if you're gonna rock out, you might as well go all the way. You can always use Focus Blast if you just want to go all out for Exploud.
You mean Focus Miss?
Yes, Focus Miss.
There we go. Alright, and also I would like to note this, that Exploud does not have access to Wish, it doesn't have access to Yawn, so you can't really use it for team support, and you can't use it to catch wild Pokemon, which is really sad. So, Pizza, do you have any last commentary before we dive into the very next Pokemon?
No, I do not.
And without further ado, let's go and dive into our last Pokemon, shall we? And our last Pokemon is going to be... oh, what a good doggy. What a good doggy. Stoutland! There we go. Nice little doggy. I'm going to give it some dog treats. So, what are the main benefits to Stoutland, you might be asking? And that's a good question. The fact that its attack stat is the highest attack stat of all the Scrappy Pokemon is something to take note of. It has a base 110 attack stat, and it can be able to hit really hard. And also the fact that its HP stat is 85, its defense is 90, its special defense is 90, and speed is 80. That means that Stoutland can take a fair amount of abuse, which is really nice, by golly. And I'm sure that Bianca wishes that she had that Stoutland. But she doesn't, because that Stoutland is a hidden ability Stoutland. Bianca won't have access to that. Sorry, Bianca. And also another main benefit is this. Stoutland has access to Fire Fang, Ice Fang, Thunder Fang, Retaliate, so in case one of your teammates faints, you can go ahead and use Retaliate and be able to knock out a Pokemon out of revenge. And also, you can be able to have Superpower, and I'll get to Superpower a little later. You have access to Howl by an Egg move. You have access to Yawn by an Egg move. Also, you have access to Iron Head, and you do have access to Dig, and you have access to Workup to boost your attack stat, but you can have Howl there because Howl has more PP than Workup, so I'd highly recommend that you breed on Howl on Stoutland. And also, as for Last Resort, the way how that move works, I mean, first off, you can learn Last Resort by a tutor move, but how that works is you need to use every single move in Stoutland's moveset before it can use Last Resort. So if you're going to be spamming Last Resort, then you should only have Stoutland learn Protect and Last Resort, and that's it. Last Resort does come with its baggage. I mean, considering the fact that it only has 5 PP, and then you maximize to 8 PP, I mean, Last Resort can work, but it's a lot more gimmicky. But let's go and talk about its drawbacks, shall we? I wish Stoutland can have access to Body Slam, but it doesn't. And as a result of that, we have to deal with Secret Power. And also, you remember how I said something about Superpower? Yeah, when you use Superpower, you're going to have to lower down your attack and defense stat by -1. So that is something that you are going to have to contend with. And I would like to throw in another drawback too. Stoutland has the Scrappy ability as hidden. So that means you're going to have to budget in breeding the Stoutland. And the only way to get Stoutland is via the New Year event on PokeMMO, so you're going to have to stay tuned for next year to get your hidden ability Stoutland supply. It'd be remiss in my duties if I did not throw in this other benefit here, and it'd be the fact that Stoutland is a field egg group, so it should be easy to obtain breeders. So that's something that cushions the drawbacks a bit, but I would still say that hidden ability Dog is going to be a bit of a bridge to cross. So, Pizza, do you have any commentary to say about our certain Scottish Terrier friend?
Definitely the easiest one to get breeders for, in my opinion, if you start out in Unova.
Well, I mean, you can start off anywhere and you can get field breeders, but I would say this. You're gonna need a female hidden ability, Lillipup, Herder, or Stoutland somewhere in the breeder line, so you're gonna have to budget that in. Pizza, do you have any commentary to say about that?
Guess we gotta wait for New Year's.
That is certainly true. And Pizza, without further ado, are you ready to dive into the rankings?
Yes, I am.
Alright, excellent. To start us off, the #1 Pokemon to use for Scrappy storyline is Kangaskhan. Because Kangaskhan, you have access to Drain Punch, which can be able to restore your HP. You have access to Wish, which is good team support. You have access to Yawn, which is good for wild encounter captures. You have access to Earthquake for Gengar. You have access to Body Slam, so you can be able to paralyze things. And also it's Stab too, because it's normal type. It's 100% female, so it's really easy to make. Really cheap to make too, so really easy and cheap. And it's Monster Egg Group, and it's really awesome. Kangaskhan gets that #1 ranking very easily. And it does have access to Sucker Punch. And Scrappy is not a hidden ability, so that is something to note, and I love that about Kangaskhan. So you might be asking me, hey Roy, so what's the #2 Pokemon? And that's a good question. The #2 Pokemon is Miltank, and the reason why I say that is because when you have a base speed stat of 100 and a base attack stat of 80, you can be able to do a lot. Also of note, when your egg group is field, that means that you could be able to breed a lot of things with Miltank, and you're going to always result in a female, so that's going to save money, just like Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan will be able to breed a lot of stuff, and then Kangaskhan is going to always result in a female. Miltank, same thing. You can breed things with Miltank, and it's going to always result in females, so that's going to make breeding a lot easier. And also, you have access to the elemental punches. You have access to Body Slam, Brick Break. You have access to Heal Bell, which is good to heal up your teammates if they're burned or paralyzed or poisoned or that sort of thing. And also, you have access to Milk Drink for your HP recovery at level 35. You have access to Earthquake. You have access to Heart Stamp via an Egg move. You have access to Work Up, so you can be able to boost your attack stat, which is really cool. So Miltank easily secures that #2 spot. Kangaskhan and Miltank, so that's pretty awesome. You might be asking, hey Roy, so what's the number 3 spot? You might be expecting me to say Stoutland because Stoutland has the highest attack stat, but I have to give it to Exploud. And the reason why I give it to Exploud is because you can hit on both sides of the spectrum, and you can hit with things like Flamethrower and Fire Punch and Hyper Voice and all that. Physical special doesn't really matter, but you can also be able to breed it really easy with the monster in field, although you are going to need a hidden ability, Exploud, Loudred, or Whismur in the breeding line, so make sure you have that budgeted in there. You should also note here that Exploud does have access to Brick Break, Body Slam, Focus Miss, Earthquake, Fire Punch, Flamethrower, Hyper Voice, Ice Beam, Ice Punch, Rock Slide, Thunder Punch, Surf, which is really nice, Work Up, and it is really cool. The fact that Exploud has access to so many tools, and yes, you have to pick the gender every time, but at the same time, it is really awesome. So, Pizza, do you have any commentary to say about our kangaroo, our cow, or our Kiss fan?
It's definitely my top 3 for sure.
So out of the 3, which one do you like the most? Kanga, Miltank, or Exploud?
As you can see, I like Kangaskhan the most.
All right, there we go. And that's good. I mean, I'm glad that I listed Kangaskhan as number 1. So there we go. In fact, I think I even made the graphic there shiny to honor your shiny Kangaskhan there.
Thank you.
No problem. And do you have any commentary to say before we sign off?
Don't get too scrappy while you're using these Pokemon in the storyline.
Certainly. All right, and with that, that's going to go ahead and conclude our segment. I'm going to let Pizza deliver his pizzas. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to film an ability series with me.
Yes, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. And I'm going to let you deliver those pizzas, and I'm going to give you a really nice tip. So that's really awesome. In fact, let me go ahead and break you real quick, and I'll give you a tip for making my cheese pizza really well. So there you go. That's going to be your tip. Enjoy.
Thank you very much.
Certainly. Alright, this is the Roy Rod Juice Channel. Don't forget to comment and subscribe to the channel like the content that you see here. And this is the Roy Rod Juice Channel signing off. Fast, accurate advice, Roy Rogers News. I'm leaving that error in there.